On a stormy night in Austin, a struggling single father makes a life-changing decision. Noah Hayes never imagined that helping an old friend for one night would lead a billionaire CEO into his cramped apartment. From that moment, everything begins to change. From poverty to the pinnacle of power, from strangers to the most dangerous love he's ever known. Follow this story to the end. Like and comment on the city you're watching to let me know how far my story has come. Now, let's begin this journey of no return. The rain came down like it had a grudge. Noah Hayes stood at the window of his third-floor apartment, watching water hammer the cracked parking lot below. The glass rattled in its frame every time the wind picked up, which was often. He'd meant to fix that seal months ago. Add it to the list. Behind him, his daughter's voice cut through the storm noise. "Daddy, the sink's doing it again." He turned. Mia sat cross-legged on the couch, math homework spread across the coffee table, her pencil paused mid-equation. She was 7, small for her age, with dark hair that never stayed in its ponytail and eyes that noticed too much. "Doing what again?" Noah asked, though he already knew. "Making that sound." He listened. Sure enough, the kitchen faucet was dripping. Not the slow occasional kind, but the rapid-fire tick that meant something inside had finally given up. He'd replaced the washer twice already this year. The whole fixture was shot. "I'll look at it in a minute," he said. Mia nodded and went back to her homework. She didn't complain. She never did. That was the part that gutted him most days. How quickly she'd learned not to expect things to be easy. Noah crossed the narrow kitchen and crouched under the sink, pulling out the toolbox wedged between cleaning supplies and a bag of potatoes going soft. The wrench was buried under screwdrivers and electrical tape. He grabbed it and twisted the shut-off valve until the dripping stopped. Temporary fix. Everything in this place was temporary. His phone buzzed on the counter. He stood, wiped his hands on his jeans, and picked it up. Marcus. He almost didn't answer. Marcus only called when he needed something, and Noah had long since stopped keeping track of favors owed. But curiosity, or maybe just the monotony of another Thursday night, made him swipe. "Yeah." "Noah, hey man." Marcus's voice had that slightly too friendly edge. "You busy tonight?" Noah glanced at the couch, where Mia was chewing the end of her pencil, staring at a word problem. "Define busy." "I need a favor, kind of last minute." "Marcus, I know. But listen, my mom's flying in from Seattle, and I'm stuck in Houston until tomorrow. Flight delays, whole thing's a mess. I just need someone to let her crash for the night. She's not picky, just needs a couch." Noah leaned against the counter. "You want me to babysit your mother?" "Not babysit, just be a human with a roof. Come on, man. I wouldn't ask if I had another option." "There's hotels." "She's old school, doesn't trust them. Plus, I already told her you'd help." Noah closed his eyes. Classic Marcus. "You told her before asking me." "Because I knew you'd say yes. You're a good guy, Noah. You're like pathologically helpful." "That's not a compliment." "It is tonight. Please, man, one night. She'll be out by morning." Noah looked around the apartment. The couch had a spring poking through on one side. The walls were beige and water-stained. Mia's cereal bowl from breakfast was still in the sink because he'd been too rushed this morning to wash it. This was not a place you brought someone's mother, but he also didn't have the energy to fight. "Fine. What time?" "She's landing at 8. I'll send her your address. You're a lifesaver." "Yeah." Marcus hung up before Noah could change his mind. Mia looked up from her homework. "Who's coming over?" "Marcus's mom." She wrinkled her nose. "Is she nice?" "No idea." "Are we cleaning?" Noah glanced at the mess. Dishes, laundry draped over the chair, a stack of bills on the table he'd been avoiding. Probably should. Mia hopped off the couch without complaint and started gathering her school stuff. Noah watched her for a second, this small person who took chaos in stride because she'd never known anything else. Then he grabbed the dish soap and got to work. By the time the knock came, the apartment looked almost presentable. Dishes done, laundry in the basket, bills shoved in a drawer. Mia had even vacuumed, though the vacuum cleaner sounded like it was dying, and probably was. Noah opened the door, already forming some version of a polite smile, and stopped. The woman standing in the hallway wasn't what he'd expected. She was younger for one, maybe 30, Tall, slim, with dark hair pulled into a loose knot and eyes that didn't bother with pretense. She wore a black coat, rain-dotted, and carried a leather bag that looked more expensive than his couch. Everything about her was clean lines and control, except for the faint shadow of exhaustion under her eyes. She didn't look like anyone's mother. "Noah Hayes?" Her voice was even, no nonsense. "Yeah, you're Marcus's mom?" Something flickered across her face. Amusement, maybe. In a manner of speaking. That wasn't an answer, but before Noah could push, she stepped past him into the apartment, scanning the space with the kind of quick, assessing look he'd seen doctors use in ERs. Not judging, just cataloging. "I appreciate you doing this on short notice," she said, setting her bag by the couch. "I know it's an inconvenience." "It's fine." She turned to face him, and for a second, Noah felt weirdly exposed, like she could see the stack of unpaid electric bills in the drawer, the duct tape holding the couch together, the fact that he'd skipped lunch today to make the grocery budget stretch. "Marcus said you had a daughter," she said. "Yeah, Mia. She's in her room." "School night?" "Every night's a school night." The corner of her mouth twitched. Not quite a smile. "Fair enough." There was a pause. Not awkward exactly, but weighted, like she was waiting for him to ask the obvious question. He didn't. Instead, he gestured toward the couch. "You can take that. I'll grab you a blanket." "I don't need much." "It's not much." This time she did smile. Brief. Barely there. "Thank you." Noah pulled a blanket from the hallway closet and brought it over. She took it, her fingers brushing his for half a second. Her hands were cold. "Storm's supposed to clear by morning," he said, because the silence felt like it needed filling. "That's what they said last night, too." "You don't trust weather reports?" "I don't trust predictions." Noah almost laughed. "Yeah, me neither." She sat down on the couch, testing the springs without comment. Then she looked up at him, and her expression shifted, just slightly, but enough that he noticed. Like she'd decided something. "You're not what I expected either," she said. "How's that?" "Marcus described you as struggling." Noah felt his jaw tighten. He's not wrong. "But he left out the part where you're competent." "Competent?" "You answered the door. Your kid's doing homework. The place is clean. You're managing." "That's a low bar." "You'd be surprised." She held his gaze for a beat longer, then pulled out her phone, apparently done with small talk. Noah took that as his cue to leave her alone. "Bathroom's down the hall," he said. "Kitchen's open if you need anything. I'll be up for a while, so just knock if something breaks." "Things break here often?" "Constantly." Another flicker of that almost smile. "Good to know." Noah retreated to the kitchen, suddenly aware of how small the apartment felt with another person in it. He pulled out his laptop, ancient, held together with hope and a cracked screen protector, and opened the freelance job board he'd been checking all week. Data entry gig in San Antonio, content moderation, overnight shift, virtual assistant for some startup that would probably fold in 6 months. He clicked through listings, barely reading them. His mind kept drifting back to the woman on his couch, the way she'd looked at him like she was solving a puzzle. Marcus's mom. Except she wasn't. He'd bet money on that. Behind him, Mia's door creaked open. "Is she gone?" Mia whispered. "She's staying the night, remember?" Mia padded into the kitchen, bare feet on linoleum, and climbed onto the chair beside him. She peered around the corner at the living room where the woman was typing something on her phone, face lit by the screen's glow. "She doesn't look like Marcus," Mia said. "People don't always look like their kids." "She doesn't look like a mom, either." Noah glanced at his daughter. "What's a mom supposed to look like?" Mia thought about it. "I don't know, softer, maybe?" He didn't have an answer for that. Instead, he ruffled her hair. "Bedtime. You've got school. Can I say hi first?" Mia, but she was already sliding off the chair, heading toward the couch with the kind of fearless curiosity that made Noah's chest ache. She stopped a few feet away, hands behind her back. "Hi," Mia said. The woman looked up from her phone. For a second, Noah thought she might brush Mia off, send her back to bed with some polite dismissal. But instead, she set the phone down and gave Mia her full attention. "Hi," she said. "I'm Mia." "Elena, are you really Marcus's mom?" Noah winced. Mia, but Elena just smiled. A real one this time, small but genuine. No, I'm not. Mia tilted her head. Then why'd you say you were? I didn't. Your dad assumed. So who are you? A friend of a friend, someone who needed a place to stay. Oh, Mia seemed satisfied with that. Do you like mac and cheese? Elena blinked. I haven't had it in years. We have some. Dad makes it really good. Well, he makes it from the box, but he adds extra butter. That does sound good. Mia grinned and ran back to Noah. She's nice. Bed, Noah said. Now. Mia rolled her eyes but obeyed, disappearing down the hall. A moment later, her door clicked shut. Noah turned back to Elena, who was watching him with that same assessing look from earlier. Sorry, he said. She's enthusiastic. She's lovely. He didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded. Elena stood, smoothing her coat. I should let you work. I'm not working, just looking. For? Jobs, extra shifts, anything that pays. She was quiet for a moment, and Noah wondered if he'd said too much. Overshared to a stranger who didn't care. But then she said, What do you do? Right now? Whatever I can. I've got a day job at a warehouse. Freelance coding at night when I can find it. Used to do IT full time, but... He stopped. It's boring. I doubt that. Trust me, it is. You taught yourself to code? He looked up, surprised. How'd you know? The way you said it, like it wasn't worth mentioning. Noah leaned back in his chair, studying her. She didn't talk like most people. Every word felt deliberate, like she was 3 steps ahead of the conversation. Yeah, he said finally. Taught myself. Started in high school, kept going after. Thought I'd get a degree, but life happened. Life, Elena repeated, like she was tasting the word. That's a generous way to put it. What would you call it? A series of interruptions. He almost laughed. Yeah, that's closer. She moved toward the couch, but didn't sit, just stood there, arms crossed, looking at him like she was deciding something. Can I ask you a question? She said. Sure. Why are you helping me? You don't know me. Marcus clearly lied to you, and I'm taking up your couch on a night you probably need the space. Noah considered that. Honest answer? He wasn't sure. Maybe because saying no took more energy than saying yes. Maybe because he remembered what it felt like to need help and not get it. You needed a place, he said. I had one. That's it? That's it. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded, like he'd passed some kind of test. Thank you, she said. For what? Being decent. It's rarer than you'd think. Before Noah could respond, she turned and settled onto the couch, pulling the blanket over her legs. Conversation over. Noah went back to his laptop, but he couldn't focus. His mind kept circling back to her, this stranger who'd walked into his apartment and somehow made it feel different just by being there. He didn't know her name was Elena Voss. Didn't know she was the CEO of a company worth billions. Didn't know that in 3 weeks she'd call him with an offer that would split his life into before and after. All he knew was that something about tonight felt like a door opening, and he had no idea what was on the other side. Torseb. The next morning, Noah woke to the smell of coffee. He sat up on the air mattress in Mia's room, where he'd crashed after giving Elena the couch, and blinked at the ceiling. Coffee. He hadn't made coffee. He pulled on a shirt and walked into the kitchen. Elena stood by the counter, pouring water into his ancient coffee maker. She'd changed clothes, simple jeans, a gray sweater, and her hair was down now, falling past her shoulders. She looked more human than she had last night, less like someone passing through. Morning? She said without turning around. You didn't have to do that. I wanted coffee. Seemed rude to make it just for myself. Noah leaned against the doorway, watching her move around his kitchen like she'd been there before. Efficient. No wasted motion. Sleep okay? He asked. Well enough. Your couch has character. That's one word for it. She smiled, handing him a mug. Black okay? Yeah. Thanks. They stood there in silence, drinking coffee while rain tapped against the window. Softer now. The storm had burned itself out overnight. Mia up yet? Elena asked. Give her 10 minutes. She's not a morning person. Smart kid. Yeah, she is. Elena set her mug down and turned to face him, and Noah felt it again. That weight of being seen, really seen by someone who didn't owe him anything. I should go, she said. But before I do, can I ask you something? Go ahead. If someone offered you a way out of this, she gestured at the apartment, the cracked walls, the life he'd built from scraps. Would you take it? Noah frowned. A way out. A different path. Better pay. Real opportunity. Doing what? Something you're good at. He studied her, trying to read the angle. Why are you asking? Elena picked up her bag, slinging it over her shoulder. Just curious. That's not an answer. No, she agreed. It's not. She moved toward the door, and Noah followed, still holding his coffee, still trying to figure out what the hell this conversation was. At the threshold, she paused. Marcus didn't send me, she said quietly. I asked him for a favor, told him I needed to meet someone real, someone who hadn't spent their life insulated by money or connections. He gave me your name. Noah's stomach dropped. Why? Because I'm looking for something most people in my world don't have. Which is? Hunger. The kind you can't fake. She held his gaze, and Noah felt the ground shift under him, subtle, tectonic. If I call you, Elena said, will you answer? He should have said no, should have asked more questions, should have done a dozen things that made sense. Instead, he said, yeah. Elena nodded once, then stepped into the hallway. Take care, Mia, she said, and then she was gone. Noah stood in the doorway for a long time after, staring at the empty hall, trying to shake the feeling that his life had just changed. He didn't know how right he was. 3 weeks later, his phone rang. Unknown number. Noah almost let it go to voicemail. He was elbow deep in a shipment of returns at the warehouse, sweat soaking through his shirt, 10 minutes left on his break. But something made him answer. This is Noah. It's Elena. He froze. Around him, the warehouse buzzed, forklifts beeping, someone shouting about a miscount, the endless mechanical grind of conveyor belts. Elena, he repeated. From the storm, 3 weeks ago. I remember. Good. Do you have time to talk? Noah glanced at the clock. I've got 8 minutes. That's enough. I have an offer for you. His heart kicked. What kind of offer? The kind that changes everything. But I need to explain it in person. Are you free tomorrow night? Yeah, I can make it work. Good. There's a place downtown. Anthem, 7 o'clock. I'll send you the address. Elena, what is this about? Your future. If you want one that doesn't look like this. The line went quiet, and Noah realized she could hear the warehouse. The noise, the grind, the weight of it. 7 o'clock, she said again. I'll be there. She hung up. Noah stood there, phone in hand, while his break ticked away. Around him, the warehouse kept moving, boxes stacking, people shouting, the same relentless rhythm he'd been drowning in for months. But for the first time in longer than he could remember, he felt something crack open inside him. Hope. Dangerous, stupid, reckless hope. He shoved his phone in his pocket and got back to work. Tomorrow night, his life would split in half. He just didn't know it yet. Pause. The restaurant was the kind of place Noah had never set foot in. Anthem sat on the 32nd floor of a glass tower downtown, all low lighting and polished surfaces, with a view of Austin that made the city look like it belonged in a movie. He stood in the elevator, watching the numbers climb, wearing the only button-down he owned that didn't have a stain. The doors opened. A host greeted him, young, polished, the kind of smile that didn't reach the eyes. Name? Hayes. I'm meeting someone. The host checked a tablet. Ms. Voss is already seated. Follow me. Noah followed, weaving through tables where people spoke in low tones over wine that probably cost more than his rent. He felt every eye on him, or maybe that was just paranoia. Either way, he didn't belong here. Then he saw her. Elena sat by the window, bathed in the amber glow of the city below. She'd traded the casual clothes from that morning for something sharper, a dark blazer, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back. She looked like power dressed as a person. She stood when he approached. Noah, thanks for coming. Not sure I had a choice, she smiled. You always have a choice. That's the point. They sat. A waiter appeared, poured water, rattled off specials Noah didn't process. Elena ordered for both of them. Something about trust, she said, and the waiter disappeared. So, Noah said, folding his hands on the table. What is this? Elena leaned back, studying him the same way she had in his apartment, like he was a problem she was solving. How much do you know about Voss Dynamics? She asked. Not much. Tech company. Big. Bigger than big. We build infrastructure for smart cities, AI-driven energy grids, autonomous transit systems, adaptive housing networks. We're in 40 countries. Revenue last year was $8 billion. Noah blinked. Okay. I'm the CEO. He'd half suspected, but hearing it out loud still hit different. And you spent the night on my couch. I did. Why? Because I needed to see how someone like you lives, how you think, what you prioritize when everything's working against you. Noah's jaw tightened. I'm not a case study. No, you're something better. You're proof. Of what? Elena leaned forward and her voice dropped. Not in volume, but in weight. Most people in my world were born into safety. They've never had to choose between paying rent and fixing their kids' shoes. They've never had to code at midnight because it's the only time they have. They don't know what hunger feels like. Not real hunger. The kind that makes you better, sharper, because you can't afford to fail. She paused. You do. Noah didn't know what to say to that. It felt too raw, too close. I'm building a new division, Elena continued. Autonomous systems integration. It's going to redefine how cities function in the next decade. But I don't need another Ivy League MBA who thinks in spreadsheets. I need someone who understands what it's like when systems fail. Someone who can see problems no one else does because they've lived them. She held his gaze. I need you. The words hung there, impossible and huge. Noah shook his head. You don't know me. I know enough. You taught yourself to code. You're raising a kid alone. You're working 2 jobs and still finding time to look for something better. That's not luck, Noah. That's drive. It's survival. Same thing. It's not. Then prove me wrong. Take the job. Show me I'm making a mistake. Noah laughed, short, bitter. I don't have a degree. I don't have experience in whatever the hell you just said. I've got a warehouse shift and some freelance gigs. That's it. And that's exactly why you're valuable. You see the world the way my executives don't. You think in solutions, not theory. You're offering me a job based on one night? I'm offering you a job based on 32 years of evidence. Everything you've done to get here. Every choice you've made when the easy option was to quit. The food arrived. Noah stared at his plate. Some kind of fish he didn't recognize, arranged like art. What's the job? He asked quietly. Lead systems architect. You'll oversee integration for our next-gen housing networks. Team of 12, reporting directly to me. Salary starts at $200,000 plus equity. Noah's fork clattered onto the plate. That's not real. It is. Elena, I'm not offering you charity. I'm offering you what you're worth, what you've always been worth, even if no one else saw it. He looked at her, really looked, and saw no pity, no condescension, just certainty. I can't do this, he said. Why not? Because I'll fail. Because I don't know what I'm doing. Because you're afraid. Noah stopped. Elena's voice softened. I get it. You've spent years making sure Mia has what she needs, keeping your head down, playing it safe because you can't afford not to. But safe isn't living, Noah. It's just slower dying. She pushed her plate aside and leaned forward. I'm giving you a chance to build something, to prove you're more than survival mode. And yeah, you might fail, but you're failing now anyway. At least this way, you fail forward. Noah's hands were shaking. He gripped the edge of the table to steady them. What if I say no? He asked. Then I thank you for your time, and we both go back to our lives. No hard feelings. And if I say yes? Then everything changes. The city stretched out below them, glittering and indifferent. Noah thought about Mia, about the apartment, about the warehouse and the endless grind, and the future he'd stopped letting himself imagine. He thought about the woman sitting across from him, who'd seen something in him he wasn't sure existed, and he thought about the question she'd asked 3 weeks ago. If someone offered you a way out, would you take it? He met her eyes. When do I start? Elena smiled. Monday. Noah's first day at Voss Dynamics started with him standing in front of a building that looked like it had been designed by someone who hated the concept of corners. The headquarters rose 40 stories into the Austin skyline, all glass and steel angles that caught the morning sun and threw it back in sharp fragments. People streamed through the revolving doors in waves, suits, badges, confident strides. Noah stood on the sidewalk with his laptop bag slung over one shoulder, trying to convince himself he belonged here. He didn't, but he was here anyway. Inside, the lobby stretched out like an airport terminal. White marble floors, ceiling high enough to echo, a reception desk that looked like it cost more than his car. A woman in a crisp blazer spotted him immediately. "Mr. Hayes?" "Yeah, that's me." "Welcome to Voss Dynamics. I'm Claire, executive assistant to Ms. Voss. She's expecting you." Claire moved fast, heels clicking across the marble, as Noah followed her to a bank of elevators. She swiped a badge and pressed 38. The doors closed, and the elevator shot upward with the kind of smooth acceleration that reminded Noah he was definitely not in Kansas anymore. "You'll be meeting with the integration team first," Claire said, eyes on her tablet. "Then Ms. Voss at 11. Your office is on 36. It will have your credentials ready by noon." "Office," Noah repeated. "Yes. Northwest corner." Ms. Voss was specific about the location. The elevator slowed, stopped. Doors opened onto a floor that looked like it had been assembled by architects who'd forgotten what clutter was. Open workspace, glass-walled conference rooms, screens everywhere displaying data Noah couldn't parse from this distance. Claire led him down a corridor lined with offices, actual offices, not cubicles, and stopped at one near the end. "This is you." Noah stepped inside. The space wasn't huge, but it had a window. A real window with a view of downtown that made his stomach drop a little. Desk, chair, 2 monitors already set up, a bookshelf that was empty except for a single binder labeled Project Integration Overview. "There's coffee in the break room," Claire said. "Conference room B in 10 minutes. Any questions?" "About 1,000. "I'm good," she nodded and left. Noah set his bag down and stood in the middle of the office, trying to process. 4 days ago, he'd been stacking boxes in a warehouse. Now he had a window. His phone buzzed. "Mia, text message. Is it cool?" He smiled and typed back. "It's weird. Good weird? Ask me later." 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then, "Don't mess it up, Dad." He laughed out loud. 7 years old and already keeping him honest. "I'll try." He pocketed the phone and headed for conference room B. 12 people sat around a table that could have seated 20. They looked up when Noah entered, and the conversation died. A man at the head of the table stood, tall, 50s, with the kind of tan that came from weekend sailing instead of warehouse loading docks. "You must be Noah Hayes." He extended a hand. "Richard Carver, VP of Operations." Noah shook it. "Good to meet you. Sit. We were just going over the Phoenix integration timeline." Noah took a seat near the middle, acutely aware of the eyes still on him. A woman across the table, sharp suit, sharper expression, leaned forward. "So you're Elena's new hire," she said. Not a question. "That's right." "What's your background?" "IT systems architecture, mostly freelance." "Which firm?" "No firm. Independent." Her eyebrows went up. "No corporate experience?" "Not yet." Someone down the table coughed. Might have been a laugh. Richard cleared his throat. "Noah's here to bring a fresh perspective. Elena thought we needed someone without an MBA to tell us how to do our jobs," the woman interrupted. She looked at Noah. "I'm Jennifer Cho, Senior Integration Lead. I've been doing this for 15 years. "Then I'm sure I'll learn a lot from you," Noah said evenly. Jennifer held his gaze for a beat, then sat back. "We'll see." Richard pulled up a presentation on the screen behind him. Diagrams, timelines, budget projections. "Phoenix is our pilot city for the adaptive housing network. We're integrating energy management, climate control, and predictive maintenance across 2,000 units. Launches in 6 months." Noah studied the slide. The architecture looked solid on the surface, but something nagged at him. He leaned forward. What's the failover protocol? He asked. Richard blinked. Sorry? If the primary grid goes down, what happens to the units? We have redundancy built in, backup systems. How many layers? Jennifer cut in. 2. Standard industry practice. Noah frowned. For 2,000 units? That's not enough. It's what the budget allows, she said coolly. But if the backup fails, it won't. You can't guarantee that. Jennifer's expression hardened. I've run integrations twice this size. The architecture is sound. I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying 2 layers isn't enough margin for error when you're talking about people's homes. If the system crashes in winter, then we have on-site technicians. How many? She paused. 4. 4 techs for 2,000 units. So if the grid fails at 2 a.m. in January, 4 people are supposed to fix it before anyone freezes? The room went quiet. Richard looked at Jennifer. He's got a point. We've been over this, Jennifer said tightly. Adding a 3rd layer blows the budget. Then we adjust the budget, Noah said. Jennifer stood. You've been here 10 minutes. You don't get to rewrite the project. I'm not rewriting it. I'm trying to keep it from failing. Based on what expertise? Noah met her eyes. Based on living in places where the heat cuts out in winter, where the systems fail and nobody comes because it's not worth their time. You're building this for people who can't afford for it to break. That means you build it better. The silence stretched. Richard tapped his pen on the table. We'll table this for now. Noah, I want you to review the full architecture. Jennifer, let's reconvene Thursday with revised failover options. Jennifer grabbed her tablet and walked out without another word. The rest of the team filed out after her, leaving Noah alone with Richard. That could have gone better, Richard said. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't apologize. You're right. Jennifer's brilliant, but she thinks in spreadsheets. Sometimes we need someone who thinks in consequences. He stood. Elena's meeting you at 11. Don't be late. I won't. Richard paused at the door. One piece of advice? Pick your battles. You just made an enemy on your first day. Try not to make 12 more by lunch. He left. Noah sat there, staring at the empty conference room, wondering if he'd just torched his career before it even started. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Then a text loaded. Come to my office. Now. E. His stomach dropped. He grabbed his bag and headed for the elevator. Elena's office was on the 40th floor, corner suite with windows on 2 sides, and a view that made the city look like a toy model. She stood with her back to the door, phone pressed to her ear, one hand braced against the glass. I don't care what the board thinks, she said. We're not cutting R&D to fund another quarter of buybacks. Tell them if they want short-term gains, they can find another CEO. She hung up and turned. Sit. Noah sat. Elena moved to her desk, pulled up something on her screen, and angled the monitor toward him. It was an email chain. Subject line, New Hire Concerns. Jennifer already filed a complaint, Elena said. You've been here 2 hours. I wasn't trying to. I know what you were trying to do. You saw a problem and said it out loud. That's exactly why I hired you. She closed the email. But you need to understand something. These people have spent their entire careers learning how to play the game. You just walked onto the board and flipped it over. So what do I do? You keep flipping it, but smarter. She sat on the edge of her desk, arms crossed. Jennifer's not your enemy. She's protecting her work. You came in and questioned it in front of her team. That's a threat. I was trying to help. I know, but help doesn't land if it feels like an attack. Elena's voice softened. You were right about the failover protocol. I read the specs last month and flagged the same issue. But Jennifer has Richard's ear, and Richard hates budget overruns. So the fight got buried. Then why bring me in? Because I need someone who'll fight it anyway, who doesn't care about politics or optics, or whose ego gets bruised. But you have to be strategic, Noah. If you alienate everyone in the first week, you'll be right and useless. Noah leaned back. So what's the play? You go back to Jennifer, privately. You tell her you respect her work and you're not trying to undermine her. Then you show her the math. What happens if the system fails, what it costs in lawsuits and bad press, and people freezing in their apartments. Make her see it's not about her being wrong. It's about the project being better. And if she doesn't listen, then I overrule her. But I'd rather not. I need you and Jennifer working together, not at each other's throats. Noah nodded slowly. Okay. Elena studied him for a moment, then stood. How's Mia handling all this? The shift caught him off guard. She's good, excited, keeps asking if I have my own office. You should bring her by sometime. Let her see what you're building. She'd like that. So would I. There was something in the way she said it, casual, but not quite, like the words meant more than they were supposed to. Noah didn't know what to do with that, so he let it sit. I should get back, he said. One more thing. Elena walked to a cabinet and pulled out a slim folder. This is the contract, full terms, equity breakdown, benefits. Read it tonight. Sign it if you're still in. Noah took the folder. It was heavier than it looked. I'm in, he said. Read it anyway. He left the office and took the elevator back down, mind spinning. The contract sat in his bag like a live wire, buzzing with possibilities he hadn't let himself consider. By the time he got home that night, Mia was asleep. He pulled the contract out and spread it across the kitchen table. $200,000 base salary. Stock options vesting over 4 years. Health insurance that actually covered things. A relocation stipend he didn't need because he wasn't moving. And at the bottom, a clause that made his throat tight. Educational assistance for dependent children. Up to $50,000 per year. He stared at that line for a long time. $50,000. For Mia. For schools he'd never been able to afford. Opportunities he'd stopped dreaming about. He signed the contract with a pen that barely worked and left it on the table. Then he walked into Mia's room and stood in the doorway, watching her sleep. We're going to be okay, he whispered. For the first time in years, he believed it. By Thursday, Noah had read every document in the Phoenix project file twice. He'd also drafted a revised failover protocol, run simulations on cost versus risk, and built a presentation that didn't throw Jennifer under the bus, but made it impossible to ignore the problem. Now he sat outside conference room B, waiting for Jennifer to show. She arrived 5 minutes late, tablet in hand, expression unreadable. You wanted to talk, she said. Yeah, got a minute? She glanced at her watch. 1 minute. Noah stood. I owe you an apology. Monday's meeting. I came in hot. I should have talked to you first instead of challenging you in front of the team. Jennifer's expression didn't change. But you still think I'm wrong. I think the protocol has a gap. That's not the same thing. Feels the same from where I'm standing. Noah pulled out his laptop and opened the simulation he'd built. Look, I'm not trying to trash your work. I ran the numbers. If we stick with 2-layer redundancy, there's a 12% chance of catastrophic failure over a 5-year span. That's 1 in 8. For 2,000 units, that's a quarter of the residents at risk. Jennifer leaned in, studying the screen. Where'd you get these variables? Public data, weather patterns, grid reliability, historical failure rates. You built this in 3 days? Couldn't sleep? She was quiet for a moment, scrolling through his projections. Then she straightened. 3rd layer adds $40 million to the budget. 32 if we use modular backups instead of full redundancy. Richard will never approve it. He will if Elena pushes. Jennifer looked at him. You've got her ear. I've got her attention. There's a difference. Is there? Noah closed the laptop. Look, I'm not here to take your job or make you look bad. I'm here because Elena thinks I can help. But I can't do that if you and I are fighting. So either we figure out how to work together or we both waste a lot of time being right and getting nowhere. Jennifer crossed her arms. You're cocky for someone who just got here. I'm desperate, also not the same thing. She almost smiled. Almost. Fine, I'll review your protocol. If the math holds, I'll back it to Richard, but if it doesn't, then I'll back off. Deal. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, you're right about the failover. I knew it was thin, just didn't want to fight that battle again. Why not? Because I've been fighting battles here for 15 years. After a while, you get tired of being the one who always says no. She left before Noah could respond. He stood there, laptop in hand, feeling like he'd just crossed some invisible line. Not a victory, just progress. His phone buzzed. Elena, dinner tonight, 7 p.m. We need to talk. Noah stared at the message, trying to read the subtext. Professional? Personal? Both? He typed back. Where? My place. I'll send the address. His stomach flipped. This was different. This wasn't a restaurant or an office. This was... The address came through. A building in Westlake Hills, penthouse. Of course it was a penthouse. Noah pocketed his phone and tried to focus on work. He failed. Elena's building had a doorman. Noah hadn't been in a place with a doorman since, actually, never. The guy nodded like Noah belonged there, which was generous, and directed him to a private elevator that required a key card to operate. The ride up was 60 seconds of polished silence. The doors opened directly into Elena's apartment. Not a hallway, not a lobby. Just her space. It was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake, furniture that looked sculptural, art on the walls that was probably worth more than his entire life. But it didn't feel cold. There were books stacked on the coffee table, a blanket draped over the couch, a pair of shoes kicked off by the door. Elena appeared from the kitchen, barefoot, wearing jeans and a sweater that made her look less like a CEO and more like someone who might actually live here. "You found it," she said. "Hard to miss." She smiled. "Want a drink?" "Sure." He followed her into the kitchen. Marble counters, professional-grade everything, a wine fridge that probably cost more than his car. She poured 2 glasses of red and handed him one. "You eat yet?" she asked. "Not really." "Good. I made pasta." Noah blinked. "You cook?" "When I have time, which is almost never, but I had time tonight." She pulled a pot off the stove and started plating. Noah watched, feeling completely out of his depth. This wasn't a business dinner. This was something else. They ate at the island, plates between them, wine close at hand. The pasta was simple, garlic, olive oil, fresh herbs, but it tasted better than anything Noah had eaten in months. "This is really good," he said. "Don't sound so surprised." "I'm not. I just didn't expect it." "What did you expect?" "I don't know. Takeout? Catered food?" Elena laughed. "I'm not that far gone." They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Then Elena set her fork down. "How's the team treating you?" "Jennifer and I reached a truce. The rest are still deciding if I'm competent or just lucky." "They'll come around." "Will they?" "If you keep doing what you did with Jennifer, show them you're not here to replace them, just to make the work better." Noah took a sip of wine. "And if that's not enough, then they leave or adapt. But I don't hire people who can't adapt." She held his gaze and Noah felt it again. That pull. The sense that this conversation was about more than work. "Why'd you really bring me here?" he asked. Elena set her glass down. "Because I wanted to." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have right now." She stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. Noah followed, stopping a few feet away. "I don't do this," Elena said quietly. "Bring people here. Let them in. It's easier to keep work and life separate, cleaner." "So why me?" She turned. "Because you're not like the others. You don't want something from me. You don't care about the title or the access or the connections. You just want to build something that matters." "That's not true." "I care about the money." "Do you?" Noah thought about it. "I care about what it means, stability, options for Mia. But the money itself?" He shook his head. "No, not really." "See? That's what I mean." She moved closer, and Noah's pulse kicked. "I'm not good at this," Elena said. "At letting people close. I've spent so long building walls, I forgot how to take them down." "Then why are you trying?" "Because you make me want to." The words hung between them, raw and unguarded. Noah's breath caught. "Elena, I know this is a terrible idea. You work for me. There's a power imbalance. HR would have a field day. So we don't do this." "We shouldn't." But neither of them moved. Elena's hand found his, fingers curling around his palm. Her skin was warm. "Tell me to stop," she said. Noah looked at her, this brilliant, impossible woman who'd walked into his life and turned it inside out, and knew he was already too far gone to lie. "I can't," he said. She kissed him. It wasn't careful, wasn't planned, just necessary, like breathing. Noah's hands found her waist, pulling her closer, and Elena's fingers tangled in his hair. The kiss deepened, weeks of tension unraveling in seconds, and for a moment the world narrowed to just this: her mouth, her warmth, the way she fit against him like she'd been designed for it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena rested her forehead against his. "This is going to complicate everything," she whispered. "Yeah. We should stop." "Probably." But she kissed him again anyway. And Noah kissed back, knowing he was crossing a line he couldn't uncross, making a choice that would rewrite every rule he thought he understood. Later, when they were tangled together on the couch, Elena's head on his chest, her voice quiet in the dark, she said, "I don't know how to do this without ruining it." "Do what?" "Care about someone. Let them matter." Noah ran his fingers through her hair. "We'll figure it out." "What if we can't?" "Then we'll fail together." She laughed softly. "That's not comforting." "It's honest." Elena tilted her head up to look at him. "I'm scared, Noah." "Of what?" "Of wanting this too much. Of letting it mean something and then losing it." He kissed her forehead. "I'm scared too." "Of losing me?" "Of not being enough. Of waking up one day and realizing you made a mistake." Elena sat up, turning to face him fully. "You think that's what this is? A mistake?" "I don't know what this is." "Neither do I. But I know it's not a mistake." She kissed him again, softer this time, and Noah felt something settle in his chest, a certainty he hadn't felt in years. This was dangerous, reckless, probably doomed, but it was also real. And that made all the difference. The next morning, Noah woke up in his own bed with his phone buzzing on the nightstand. He grabbed it, half asleep. Richard Carver. "Yeah?" "Morning. Elena wants the Phoenix team in conference room A at 9. Full presentation on the revised failover protocol. You and Jennifer are leading it." Noah sat up. "Both of us?" "Her idea. She said if you two can sell it together, the board will approve the budget. And if we can't, then we stick with what we have and hope it doesn't blow up in our faces." Richard hung up. Noah stared at the ceiling, mind racing. This was it, the first real test. He texted Jennifer, "You ready for this?" 3 dots. Then, "No, but let's do it anyway." Noah smiled and got out of bed. By the time he walked into Voss Dynamics 2 hours later, the nerves had settled into something sharper. Focus, drive. He met Jennifer outside conference room A. She had her tablet, he had his laptop, and they both looked like they'd been up half the night prepping. "You good?" he asked. "Ask me after." They walked in together. Elena sat at the head of the table, flanked by Richard and 3 board members Noah didn't recognize. The energy in the room was tense. Money was on the line, and everyone knew it. Elena gestured to the screen. "Whenever you're ready." Jennifer took the lead, walking through the original protocol with clinical precision. Then Noah stepped in, showing the simulations, the risk projections, the cost-benefit analysis. The board asked questions, hard ones. Noah answered without hesitation, and when he didn't know something, Jennifer filled the gap. They worked like they'd been doing this for years. By the time they finished, the room was silent. One of the board members, gray-haired, sharp-eyed, leaned back. $32 million is a lot of money. So is a class action lawsuit, Noah said, or a PR disaster when people start freezing because our system failed. The man smiled. "Fair point." Elena stood. "We're approving the revised protocol. Jennifer, Noah, get it implemented. I want updates every 2 weeks." The board filed out. Jennifer let out a breath she'd been holding. "We did it," she said. "Yeah, we did." She looked at him. "You're not bad at this, Hayes." "Neither are you, Cho." She almost smiled. "Don't let it go to your head. Too late." Jennifer left and Noah started packing up his laptop. When he looked up, Elena was still there, watching him. "Nice work," she said. "Thanks." "Dinner tonight?" Noah hesitated. "Is that a good idea?" "Probably not." "Then, yeah, I'm in." She smiled, small, private, just for him, and walked out. Noah stood there, laptop in hand, trying to process how much his life had changed in 2 weeks. Then his phone buzzed. "Mia! Dad, when can I see your office?" He typed back. "This weekend. I'll show you everything. Even the boss lady?" Noah laughed. "Maybe." He pocketed the phone and headed back to his office, the weight of the day settling into something that felt less like pressure and more like purpose. This was real. The job. The team. Elena. All of it. And for the first time since he could remember, Noah wasn't just surviving. He was building something, something that might actually last. 3 months in, Noah stopped feeling like an imposter. Not completely. There were still moments, board meetings where everyone spoke in acronyms he had to Google later, strategy sessions where his lack of an MBA showed like a gap in his teeth. But the Phoenix project was ahead of schedule. Jennifer had stopped looking at him like he might combust at any second, and his team actually listened when he talked. Progress. Real, measurable progress. The thing nobody warned him about was how fast success could turn into pressure. He sat in his office on a Friday afternoon, staring at 3 different screens showing 3 different crises. Phoenix had a supply chain delay in Denver. The Detroit integration was hemorrhaging budget. And the board wanted a presentation on scalability by Monday that he hadn't started yet. His phone buzzed. Elena, you still here? Where else would I be? It's 7 p.m. on a Friday. Noah glanced at the clock. She was right. The floor had emptied an hour ago, and he hadn't noticed. Almost done. Liar. Come upstairs. He should have said no. Should have finished the Detroit analysis, started the presentation, done literally anything productive. Instead, he saved his work and took the elevator to 40. Elena's office lights were still on, door half open. He knocked anyway. Come in. She sat at her desk, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, reading something on her tablet with the kind of focus that made the rest of the world disappear. When she looked up, her expression softened. You look tired, she said. You look like you've been here longer than I have. Probably. She set the tablet down. When's the last time you took a break? I took lunch. At your desk doesn't count. Noah leaned against the doorframe. What are you, my supervisor? Technically, yes. Then technically, you should be telling me to work harder. Elena stood and walked over to him, close enough that he could smell her perfume. Something subtle that he'd started associating with late nights and bad decisions. I'm telling you to go home, she said. See your daughter. Remember what you're doing this for. I know what I'm doing this for. Do you? Because from where I'm standing, you're starting to look like everyone else here, grinding yourself down because you think that's what success costs. Isn't it? Elena's jaw tightened. No, that's what burnout costs, and I didn't bring you here to watch you destroy yourself. Noah met her eyes. Then why did you bring me here? You know why. The air between them shifted. They'd been careful at work, professional, distant, no lingering looks or accidental touches. But alone like this, the rules felt thinner. We can't keep doing this, Noah said quietly. Doing what? Pretending this is just business. Elena's hand found his, fingers threading together. I'm not pretending. Then what are we doing? I don't know, but I'm tired of pretending I don't want you here. She kissed him, and Noah forgot about Detroit and Denver and every crisis waiting on his desk. He kissed her back, hand sliding around her waist, pulling her closer until there was no space left between them. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Elena rested her forehead against his. Go home, she whispered. Please. Come with me. She pulled back, surprised. To your apartment? Why not? You've been there before. That was different. How? Elena hesitated, and Noah saw it. The wall she kept between her life and everyone else's, the distance she maintained even with him. Mia will want to meet you, he said. Properly. Not as some mystery woman I'm sneaking around with. Noah, I'm not asking you to move in. I'm asking you to have pizza with my daughter. That's it. Elena looked at him for a long moment, something uncertain flickering in her expression. Then she nodded. Okay. Yeah? Yeah, but I'm buying the pizza. But buy me. Mia opened the door before Noah could get his key out. You're late, she said, then stopped. Her eyes went wide. You brought her. Elena smiled. Hi, Mia. Hi. Mia looked at Noah. You didn't say she was coming. Surprise. Mia stepped aside to let them in, suddenly shy in a way Noah had never seen her. Elena took in the apartment, the same cramped space she'd crashed in months ago, unchanged except for the new textbooks on the coffee table and Mia's art projects taped to the fridge. I like what you've done with the place, Elena said. Mia giggled. We didn't do anything. Then I like what you haven't done with it. That got a real laugh. Mia grabbed Elena's hand and pulled her toward the couch. Do you want to see my drawings? I've been practicing faces. I'd love to. Noah watched them settle on the couch, Mia pulling out her sketchbook with the kind of enthusiasm she usually reserved for new markers. Elena leaned in, asking questions about technique and shading, treating Mia's work like it mattered. His chest tightened. He ordered pizza, pepperoni for Mia, veggie for Elena because he'd learned she didn't eat meat, and joined them on the couch. Mia showed Elena every drawing she'd done in the past month, narrating each one with elaborate backstories. Elena listened like she had nowhere else to be. When the pizza arrived, they ate on the floor because the table was covered in Mia's homework. Mia talked non-stop about school, her friends, the science project she was building about renewable energy. Elena asked follow-up questions that weren't patronizing, and Mia glowed under the attention. Dad says you run a big company, Mia said, cheese hanging from her slice. I do. Is it hard? Sometimes, but I like it. Do you have kids? Elena's expression flickered. No. Why not? Mia, Noah warned, but Elena shook her head. It's okay. Honest answer, I never made time for it. I was too focused on work. Do you regret it? Elena looked at Mia, then at Noah. I'm starting to think I might. The weight of that admission settled over the room. Noah reached for Elena's hand under the table, and she squeezed back. After dinner, Mia insisted on showing Elena her room, posters of scientists and astronauts on the walls, books stacked everywhere, a telescope by the window that Noah had saved for months to buy. This is amazing, Elena said, crouching to look through the telescope. You can see so much from here. Dad says if I keep studying, I can work for NASA one day. You absolutely can, Mia beamed. Then she looked at Elena, suddenly serious. Are you Dad's girlfriend? Noah froze. Elena didn't. Would that be okay with you? Elena asked. Mia thought about it. Yeah, you're nice, and you laugh at his jokes even when they're bad. Elena smiled. They are pretty bad. Hey, Noah protested. Mia climbed into bed, still grinning. Elena pulled the blanket up, tucking her in with the kind of care that felt natural, not performative. Good night, Mia. Good night, Elena. Noah kissed Mia's forehead and turned off the light. When they got back to the living room, Elena sank onto the couch and let out a breath. That was a lot, Noah finished. Perfect. That was perfect. She looked at him, eyes shining, and Noah saw it. The crack in her armor, the part of her that wanted this as much as he did but didn't know how to hold it without breaking it. Stay, he said. Noah, just tonight. We'll figure out the rest later. Elena hesitated, then nodded. They ended up tangled together on the couch, talking in low voices about everything and nothing. Work. Mia. The impossible logistics of whatever they were building. Somewhere around midnight, Elena fell asleep with her head on his chest, and Noah didn't move because waking her felt wrong. This was dangerous, reckless, a relationship built on power imbalance and secrets and a future neither of them could predict. But it was also the first thing in years that felt like it might be worth the risk. Monday morning hit like a freight train. Noah walked into his office to find Richard waiting, expression grim. We've got a problem. Which one? Detroit. The integration team just found a critical flaw in the housing network. If we launch as planned, the whole system could collapse within 6 months. Noah's stomach dropped. How critical? Catastrophic. We're talking lawsuits, safety violations, the whole project getting scrapped. Richard handed him a tablet. Elena wants you in her office. Now. Noah grabbed the tablet and headed for the elevator. The data was worse than Richard had made it sound. Structural failures in the load distribution, power management systems that couldn't handle peak demand, redundancies that weren't actually redundant. Someone had cut corners, big ones. Elena was on the phone when he walked in. She gestured for him to sit. I don't care what it costs, she said into the receiver. Fix it or find someone who can. She hung up and turned to Noah. Tell me this isn't as bad as it looks. It's worse. How is that possible? We had 3 engineers sign off on this design. Noah pulled up the schematics. Because they were optimizing for budget, not function. Look at the power grid. It's designed for average load, not peak. First cold snap, it'll overload. Elena's jaw tightened. Who approved this? Marcus Leland, Senior VP in Detroit. The same Marcus who's been pushing for early launch bonuses. Yeah, Elena stood and paced to the window. If we delay, we lose the city contract. If we launch, we risk lives. Either way, we're done. Not if we fix it. Noah, we're talking about a complete redesign. That's months of work. Then we do months of work. We don't have months. Noah set the tablet down. What if we had weeks? Elena turned. You can't redesign an entire power grid in weeks. I can if I strip everything back to basics. No fancy optimization. Just solid, reliable infrastructure that works. That'll kill the margins, but it'll save the project. Elena studied him, and Noah saw the calculation happening behind her eyes. Risk versus reward, reputation versus revenue. How confident are you? She asked. 80%. That's not 100. Nothing is. She was quiet for a moment, then she picked up her phone and dialed. Richard, clear Noah's schedule for the next 3 weeks. Everything. I want him focused on Detroit and nothing else. She paused. No, I don't care about Phoenix. Jennifer can handle it. This is priority 1. She hung up and looked at Noah. You've got 3 weeks. If you pull this off, I'll make you VP of integration. Noah's breath caught. Elena. And if you don't, we both go down with the ship. So don't screw this up. She said it lightly, but Noah heard the weight underneath. This wasn't just about Detroit. This was about trust. About proving he could carry the kind of responsibility that came with the title she was dangling. I won't, he said. I know. He stood to leave, then stopped. What happens to Marcus? Elena's expression hardened. He's done. I don't care how many connections he has. You don't gamble with people's lives for a bonus. Noah nodded and headed for the door. Noah. He turned. Thank you, Elena said quietly, for caring enough to fight for this. It's my job. No, it's who you are. Don't lose that. He left before he could say something that would make this harder than it already was. The next 3 weeks were hell. Noah moved into a hotel in Detroit, bringing Jennifer and 2 junior engineers with him. They worked 18-hour days, ripping apart the flawed design and rebuilding it from scratch. Jennifer questioned every choice, which drove Noah crazy until he realized she was making the work better. By the end of week 1, they had a functional prototype. By the end of week 2, they tested it under every failure condition Noah could think of. By the end of week 3, they had a system that worked. Noah presented it to the Detroit City Council on a Thursday morning, exhausted and running on coffee and spite. The council asked hard questions. He answered everyone. At the end, the council chair leaned back in his seat. Mr. Hayes, I'll be honest. When Voss Dynamics came back and told us the project needed a complete overhaul, I thought we were being sold a lemon. Noah's heart sank. But this? The chair gestured at the screen. This is what we signed up for. You've got our approval. Relief hit Noah so hard he almost laughed. They signed the revised contract that afternoon. By the time Noah got back to his hotel, it was almost midnight. He collapsed on the bed and called Elena. We got it, he said when she picked up. I know, the council called an hour ago. Noah, you did it. We did it. Jennifer carried half the load. I'll make sure she's compensated, but this was your win. Noah closed his eyes. I'm exhausted. Come home. Take the weekend. You've earned it. What about Phoenix? Phoenix is fine. You're not. Go home, see Mia, sleep for 12 hours. That's an order. Yes, ma'am. Elena's voice softened. I'm proud of you. Yeah? Yeah. Noah felt something warm settle in his chest. I miss you. I miss you too. Come home and do something about it. He smiled. I'll be there tomorrow. They hung up, and Noah lay in the dark, too wired to sleep despite the exhaustion. He'd done it. Pulled off something everyone said was impossible. Proven he could handle the pressure. And now Elena was offering him VP. The title should have thrilled him. Instead, it terrified him. Because VP meant visibility, scrutiny, people digging into his background, his relationship with Elena, everything he'd been trying to keep quiet. It meant their secret wouldn't stay secret much longer. Bomb. When Noah got back to Austin, Mia tackled him at the door. "You're home!" He lifted her up, ignoring the protest from his back. "Miss me?" "So much. Elena took me to the Science Museum while you were gone." Noah set her down. "She did?" "Yeah. She said you were too busy saving Detroit, so she'd keep me company. We saw the planetarium and everything." Noah's throat tightened. Elena hadn't mentioned that, hadn't asked for credit or acknowledgement. She'd just shown up. "That was nice of her," he managed. "She's really cool, Dad. I like her." "Me too, kid." That night after Mia went to bed, Noah texted Elena. "Thank you for taking Mia to the museum. She wanted to go. I wanted an excuse to see her. You don't need an excuse." "I know, but it felt easier than admitting I missed you both." Noah stared at that message for a long time. "Come over tomorrow. We'll make dinner. I'd like that." The next evening, Elena showed up with groceries and a bottle of wine. Mia helped cook, badly, enthusiastically, and they ate pasta that was slightly overcooked and perfect anyway. After dinner, Mia fell asleep on the couch during a movie. Noah carried her to bed, and when he came back, Elena was cleaning up the kitchen. "You don't have to do that," he said. "I know." He moved behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She leaned back into him, and they stood there in silence, dishes forgotten. "I'm scared," Elena said quietly. "Of what?" "Of how much I want this. You, Mia, this life." Noah turned her around to face him. "Then stop being scared and take it." "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because I'm your boss, Noah. Because people will say you slept your way to VP. Because the board will question my judgment, and your team will wonder if you earned your position or just got lucky." "I don't care what people say." "I do. Not for me. For you. You've worked too hard to have it all dismissed because of us." Noah cupped her face. "Elena, look at me." She did. "I don't give a damn what people think. I care about you, about this. If that costs me the VP title, fine, I'll find another way." "You shouldn't have to choose." "I'm not. I'm choosing both. And if people can't handle that, it's their problem." Elena's eyes filled, and she kissed him, desperate, certain, like she was trying to believe him. When they broke apart, she said, "I'm making you VP. Monday. Official announcement." "Elena, you earned it. Detroit proved that. Whatever happens after, we'll deal with it together." Noah wanted to argue, wanted to protect her from the fallout he knew was coming, but he also wanted the title, wanted to prove he could hold it, so he nodded. "Okay." "Okay? Yeah, let's do this." Elena smiled, real, unguarded, and Noah kissed her again, knowing they were about to walk into a fire, but unable to stop himself from striking the match. The announcement went live Monday morning. Noah Hayes, VP of Systems Integration, effective immediately. His inbox exploded. Congratulations from Jennifer and the Phoenix team, questions from people he'd never met, and, inevitably, whispers. He heard them in the break room, saw the looks in the hallway. By Tuesday, the rumors were everywhere. He's sleeping with Elena. That's how he got promoted. Never worked a corporate job before this. Now he's VP? Come on. 3 months and he's already an executive. Must be nice. Noah ignored it, focused on work. But it wore on him. The constant judgment, the doubt. On Wednesday, Jennifer found him in his office. "You doing okay?" she asked. "Fine." "You're a terrible liar." Noah looked up. "What do you want me to say? That it sucks? That people think I didn't earn this?" "People always talk. Doesn't make them right. Doesn't make them wrong either." Jennifer sat down. "You want to know what I think?" "Not really." "Too bad. I think you're the best thing that's happened to this division in years. You see problems no one else does. You care more than anyone I've worked with. And yeah, maybe Elena promoted you fast, but you earned it. Detroit proved that." Noah's throat tightened. "Thanks. Don't thank me. Just keep doing the work. That's how you shut them up." She left, and Noah went back to his screen, trying to focus. But the doubts lingered. That night he met Elena at her place. She poured wine, and they sat on the couch, both too tired to pretend everything was fine. "People are talking," Noah said. "I know." It's getting worse. I know that too. Elena, maybe we should shout. Don't, she interrupted. Don't say we should stop. Don't say this was a mistake. I wasn't going to. She looked at him. Then what? I was going to say maybe we stop hiding. Tell people the truth. Own it. Elena's breath caught. Noah, that's risky. Yeah. But sneaking around isn't working, and I'm tired of acting like you're just my boss. If we go public, it'll get uglier. Then it gets uglier. But at least we're facing it together instead of pretending it doesn't exist. Elena set her wine down and took his hand. You're sure? No, but I'm sure about you. That's enough. She kissed him, and Noah felt the decision solidify. They were doing this. Whatever came next, they'd face it head on. No more hiding. No more pretending. Just them. Messy and imperfect and real. And if the world had a problem with that, the world could deal. They went public on a Thursday. Not with an announcement or a press release. Just, Elena showed up at the quarterly company meeting with her hand in Noah's, and that was that. The room went silent. 200 employees packed into the main auditorium, and every single one of them stopped breathing for about 3 seconds. Then the whispers started, rolling through the crowd like a wave. Noah felt Elena's grip tighten, but she didn't let go. Richard stood at the podium, mid-sentence, about Q3 projections, and just stared. Then he cleared his throat and kept talking like nothing had happened, which Noah respected the hell out of. After the meeting, people scattered fast. Nobody approached them. Nobody said a word. But Noah felt the stares burning into his back as they walked out together. In the elevator, Elena finally released his hand. Well, she said, that happened. You okay? Ask me tomorrow. The elevator doors opened on 40. Elena stepped out, then turned back. Dinner tonight? She asked. Your place. I'll bring Chinese. Mia will love that. Elena smiled, small, tired, but real. So will I. She disappeared into her office, and Noah headed back to his floor. When he got to his desk, Jennifer was waiting. So, she said, that was bold. You could say that. People are losing their minds. I noticed. Jennifer leaned against his desk. For what it's worth, I think it's good you stopped pretending. Secrets have a way of eating people alive. Yeah, we figured that out. How's Elena holding up? Noah glanced toward the elevator. She's tougher than she looks. She'd have to be. Jennifer straightened. Board meeting's in an hour. You should probably prepare for questions. What kind of questions? The kind where they ask if you're qualified or just sleeping your way to the top. Noah's jaw tightened. Let them ask. Oh, they will. Just make sure you have answers that don't involve telling them to screw themselves. She walked away, and Noah pulled up the Detroit metrics. Numbers didn't lie. The project was ahead of schedule, under budget, and already getting interest from 3 other cities. If the board wanted to question his competence, he had receipts. But he knew it wouldn't matter. Not to the people who'd already made up their minds. The board meeting was worse than he expected. Noah sat beside Elena at the conference table while 8 board members stared him down like he'd personally insulted their mothers. The chairman, a silver-haired man named Douglas Sterling, folded his hands and got straight to it. Mr. Hayes, I'll be direct. Your relationship with Ms. Voss presents significant concerns regarding corporate governance and potential conflicts of interest. Noah kept his voice level. I understand that. Do you? Because from where we're sitting, it appears you've leveraged a personal relationship to advance your career at an unprecedented rate. With respect, sir, I've leveraged competence. Detroit launched successfully. Phoenix is tracking ahead of projections. The numbers speak for themselves. The numbers also show you were promoted to VP after 3 months of employment. That's not standard practice. Neither is redesigning a failing project in 3 weeks. But I did it anyway. Douglas's eyes narrowed. Your confidence is noted, but confidence doesn't address the optics issue. Our shareholders expect transparency and accountability. Elena cut in. Then let's be transparent. Noah and I are in a relationship. It started after he was hired, not before. His promotions were based solely on merit and performance. If you'd like to review his evaluations, I'm happy to provide them. Evaluations you conducted, another board member said. A woman named Patricia Chen. Which brings us back to the conflict of interest. Then have Richard conduct the next review, Elena said coolly, or Jennifer Cho. or anyone else you trust. Noah's work stands on its own. Patricia leaned forward. Ms. Voss, we're not questioning Mr. Hayes' technical abilities. We're questioning the judgment of both of you in pursuing a relationship that creates liability for this company. Noah felt his temper flare. Liability? I've delivered every project you've put in front of me. What liability are you worried about? That I might actually care about the work? Mr. Hayes, no? You want transparency. Here it is. I came from nothing, taught myself to code, raised my daughter alone while working 2 jobs. Elena saw something in that, not because she wanted to sleep with me, but because she needed someone who understood what it's like when systems fail, when people get left behind. That's what I bring to this company. And if you think a relationship disqualifies me from doing my job, then you don't understand what this job actually requires. The room went dead silent. Douglas steepled his fingers. Are you finished? Yeah, I'm finished. Good. Because here's what's going to happen. We're instituting a formal review process, independent oversight, monthly evaluations. And if we find any evidence of favoritism or preferential treatment, Mr. Hayes, you're done, relationship or not. Noah nodded. Fair enough. And Ms. Voss, you'll recuse yourself from any decisions regarding Mr. Hayes' compensation or advancement. Non-negotiable. Elena's expression didn't change. Agreed. Douglas stood. Then we're adjourned. Gentlemen, ladies, let's reconvene next month. The board filed out. Noah sat there, heart pounding, waiting for the axe to fall. When the room cleared, Elena turned to him. That was stupid, she said. Which part? All of it. You don't pick fights with the board. They were questioning whether I earned my job. So you proved them wrong with results, not speeches. Noah stood. I'm not going to sit there and let them imply I'm some, I know, but you need to be smarter about how you fight back. Elena softened. They're looking for a reason to push you out. Don't give them one. I'm not going to apologize for defending myself. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to think before you talk. Noah grabbed his laptop. I need air. He left before she could respond. He ended up on the roof. The building had a terrace on the 40th floor, technically off limits, but the lock was broken and nobody enforced it. Noah sat on the edge of a planter, looking out at the city, trying to calm down. The door opened behind him. Jennifer. Figured I'd find you here, she said, sitting beside him. How'd you know? Richard told me about the board meeting. Also, you're predictable. Noah almost smiled. They think I'm a fraud. Some of them, yeah, but some of them are just scared. Of what? Change. You're not like the people they usually promote. You don't have the right credentials, the right background, the right anything. That scares them because it means the rules they've spent their careers learning don't apply anymore. So what do I do? Jennifer shrugged. Keep proving them wrong every day until they can't ignore you anymore. And if that's not enough, then you leave. Build something somewhere else. But don't let them make you doubt yourself. You're good at this, Noah, really good. Don't forget that just because a bunch of old men in suits are uncomfortable. Noah looked at her. Thanks. Don't mention it. Seriously, don't. I have a reputation to maintain. She stood and headed for the door, then paused. For what it's worth. Elena's not wrong. You need to be smarter about picking your battles. But I'm glad you picked that one. Someone needed to say it. She left. Noah sat there a while longer, then headed home. What? That night, Elena showed up with Chinese food and an apology. I shouldn't have said you were stupid, she said, setting bags on the counter. You weren't. You were honest. I just panicked. You don't panic. I do when I think I'm about to lose you. Noah pulled her close. You're not losing me. The board could force you out. Then I'll go, but I'm not going anywhere without you. Elena kissed him, and Mia chose that exact moment to walk in. You? She said, grinning. You guys are gross. You love it, Noah said. I tolerate it. Mia grabbed a container of lo mein. Can we eat? I'm starving. They ate on the couch, Mia wedged between them, talking about her day. Noah felt the tension from the board meeting start to fade. This, right here, was what mattered. Not the titles or the salary or the opinions of people who didn't know him. This. After Mia went to bed, Elena stayed. They sat on the couch, her head on his shoulder, talking about everything except work. What if I left? Noah said quietly. Elena lifted her head. Left where? Voss. What if I walked away, started my own thing? You're serious? I don't know, maybe. The board's never going to trust me, and every success I have, people will say it's because of you. So prove them wrong. I've been trying. It's not enough. Elena sat up, facing him. Noah, listen to me. If you want to leave and build something on your own, I will support you 100%. But don't do it because you're scared of what people think. Do it because it's what you actually want. What if I don't know what I want? Then figure it out. But not tonight. Tonight, just be here. With me. Noah pulled her back against him, and they sat in silence, both knowing the answer was out there somewhere, but too tired to keep looking for it. 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. The Phoenix project hit a critical failure during a stress test. The failover protocol, Noah's design, didn't activate fast enough, and the entire grid went down for 4 hours. Nobody got hurt, but it was close. Too close. The board called an emergency meeting. Noah walked in expecting a firing squad. He got one. Douglas Sterling didn't waste time. Mr. Hayes, the Phoenix failure is unacceptable. You assured us the failover system was bulletproof. It was tested. Clearly not well enough. We have 2,000 residents who lost power for 4 hours because your system failed. The protocol activated, just not as fast as projected. We can fix it. Fix it? We're supposed to roll this out to 6 more cities. How do we do that when the flagship project is broken? Noah pulled up the diagnostic data. The delay was in the sensor array, not the core failover logic. We swap out the sensors, the system works. Patricia Chen cut in. And how much will that cost? 12 million? Maybe 15. That's not in the budget. Then we adjust the budget. We've already adjusted the budget twice for your revisions, Mr. Hayes. At what point do we stop throwing money at a problem and admit the design is flawed? Noah's hands tightened on the tablet. The design isn't flawed. The execution was rushed. If you'd given us another month, you said it was ready. It was. For a controlled environment. But real-world conditions, Mr. Hayes, Douglas's voice was ice. We're suspending the Phoenix rollout pending a full investigation. You'll be placed on administrative leave effective immediately. Noah's stomach dropped. You're benching me. We're conducting due diligence. If the investigation clears you, you'll be reinstated. If not, I'm done. Douglas didn't answer. He didn't have to. Elena stood. This is premature. The failure was a testing issue, not a design flaw. Suspending Noah doesn't solve anything. It protects the company, Patricia said, and it sends a message that we take accountability seriously. You mean it gives you a scapegoat? Ms. Voss, no. You're using this as an excuse to push Noah out because you never wanted him here in the first place. This isn't about Phoenix. It's about control. Douglas's expression hardened. Ms. Voss, your relationship with Mr. Hayes is clouding your judgment. I suggest you recuse yourself from this discussion. I suggest you stop hiding behind procedure and admit what this really is. The room erupted, board members talking over each other, voices rising. Noah stood there, numb, watching his career implode in real time. Richard finally cut through the noise. Enough! Elena, Noah, step outside. Let the board deliberate. Elena looked like she wanted to argue, but Noah touched her arm. Let's go, he said quietly. They left. In the hallway, Elena paced like a caged animal. This is insane. They're railroading you. They're protecting their investment. By throwing you under the bus? That's not protection. That's cowardice. Noah leaned against the wall. Maybe they're right. Don't. Elena, don't you dare give up. Not after everything you've built. I didn't build anything. I just tried. And it wasn't enough. Elena grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. You built everything. Phoenix works. Detroit works. You brought ideas nobody else had and made them real. One failure doesn't erase that. It does if they fire me. Then we fight it. How? I don't know yet. But we will. The door opened. Richard stepped out. Board's decided. Noah, you're on leave for 2 weeks while we investigate. Full pay. After that, we'll reconvene and make a final decision. And if they decide I'm out? Richard's expression was unreadable. Then you're out. He went back inside. Elena's phone rang. She ignored it. It rang again. "Take it," Noah said. She answered, listened. Her face went pale. "I'll be right there." She hung up. "What?" Noah asked. "There's a reporter outside. Someone leaked the Phoenix failure. It's going to be on the news in an hour." "How?" "I don't know. But we need damage control. Now." Elena started for the elevator, then stopped. "Come with me." "Elena, I'm on leave. I can't." "I don't care. I need you." Noah followed her. The press conference was a nightmare. Elena stood at a podium in the main lobby, cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions. Noah watched from the back, feeling useless. "Ms. Voss, is it true the Phoenix project experienced a critical failure?" "We experienced a delay in our failover protocol during testing. No residents were harmed, and the issue has been identified." "Sources say the system was down for 4 hours. Is that accurate?" "Yes. And you're still planning to roll this out to other cities?" "After a full review and necessary corrections, yes." "What about reports that the lead engineer is under investigation?" Elena's jaw tightened. "Personnel matters are confidential." "Is it true you're romantically involved with the engineer in question?" The room went silent. Elena met the reporter's eyes. "My personal life is not up for discussion." "But the conflict of interest?" "There is no conflict. Next question." Noah watched her field question after question, deflecting, defending, holding the line. She was brilliant, unshakable, and he was the reason she had to be. After the conference, Elena found him in the lobby. "That was bad," she said. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For all of this. For making your job harder. For—" Elena kissed him. Right there in the lobby, cameras probably still rolling, employees watching. When she pulled back, she said, "Stop apologizing. We're in this together. Even if it cost you everything." Even then, Noah's chest tightened. "I love you." It was the first time he'd said it. Elena's breath caught. "I love you too," she whispered. Then she took his hand and walked out of the building with him into the chaos waiting outside. That night, Noah couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying the board meeting over and over. The Phoenix failure, the reporters. Elena's face when she defended him. Around 2 a.m., his phone buzzed. "Jennifer, you awake?" "Yeah." "Meet me at the office. I found something." Noah got dressed and drove to Voss Dynamics. The building was dark except for a few floors still lit. Jennifer met him in the lobby. "What's going on?" he asked. "I've been digging into the Phoenix failure. Something didn't add up." She led him to the server room and pulled up diagnostic logs. "Look at this. The sensor delay? It wasn't random. Someone altered the activation threshold 2 days before the test." Noah leaned in. "Who?" "Access logs say you." His blood went cold. "I didn't touch those settings." "I know, but someone used your credentials." "That's not possible. I have two-factor authentication." "Which means someone cloned your access, probably weeks ago." Noah's mind raced. Why? "To sabotage the test. Make it look like your design failed." Jennifer pulled up another file. "And look who accessed the server room the night before the test." A name appeared on screen. Marcus Leland, the same VP Elena had fired for cutting corners in Detroit. "He's been gone for months," Noah said. "His badge was deactivated, but he still had remote access. IT never revoked it." Noah felt rage building. "He set me up." "Yeah, and he almost got away with it. Does Elena know?" "Not yet. I wanted to tell you first." Noah pulled out his phone. "We need to take this to the board." "Agreed. But Noah, this doesn't prove Marcus acted alone. Someone on the inside might have helped him." "You think it's a board member?" "I think someone wanted you gone badly enough to help make it happen. Watch your back." Noah called Elena. She answered on the first ring. "What's wrong?" "I need you to come to the office. Now. We found something." "I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, Elena stood in the server room, staring at the evidence. "Marcus," she said quietly, "that son of a—" "We can prove sabotage," Jennifer said. "The board has to reinstate Noah." "They will." But first, I'm going to make sure Marcus never works in this industry again. Elena pulled out her phone and started making calls. By morning, lawyers were involved. By noon, Marcus was in custody. By the end of the day, the board had issued a formal apology and reinstated Noah with full pay and back benefits. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, Noah just felt tired. That night, he sat with Elena in her apartment, both of them too exhausted to celebrate. "It's not over," Elena said. "The board's still looking for a reason to push you out." "I know. So what do we do?" Noah looked at her. This woman who'd fought for him, defended him, loved him even when it cost her everything. And he made a decision. "I'm leaving," he said. Elena's face went white. "What?" "Not you, Voss. I'm leaving the company." "Noah, listen. As long as I'm here, you'll have to keep defending me. The board will keep questioning every decision. And I'll keep wondering if I earned my place or if I'm just here because of you." "You earned it." "Maybe, but I'll never know for sure. Not here." He took her hands. "I want to build something on my own. Prove I can do this without your name behind me. And then, when I've done that, maybe we can figure out what this is without the weight of Voss dynamics crushing it." Elena's eyes filled. "You're really doing this?" "Yeah, I am." "When?" 2 weeks. I'll finish the Phoenix corrections. Make sure the project's stable. Then I'm gone." Elena pulled him close, and they held each other in silence, both knowing this was the right choice and hating it anyway. "Promise me something," she whispered. "Anything. Don't disappear. Don't shut me out just because you're not working here anymore." "I won't. I couldn't if I tried. And when you build your empire, and you will, come back. Show them what they lost." Noah kissed her. "Count on it." Noah's last day at Voss Dynamics was quieter than he expected. No farewell party, no speeches. Just a desk to clear and a badge to turn in. He packed his laptop, a few personal items, and the binder from his first day, the one labeled Project Integration Overview that he'd never actually needed because he'd learned everything by doing it instead of reading about it. Jennifer stopped by around 3. "So you're really doing this?" she said, leaning in the doorway. "Yeah." "Stupid move." "Probably." She walked in and handed him a folder. "Phoenix Final Metrics. Thought you might want them." Noah opened it. The numbers were solid, better than solid. System uptime at 99.7%, energy efficiency 20% above projections, resident satisfaction ratings through the roof. "We did good work," he said. You did good work. I just kept you from screwing it up too badly." Noah smiled. "I'm going to miss you." "No, you won't. You'll be too busy building whatever crazy thing you're planning next." She paused. "But for the record, I hope you crush it. And when you need a senior engineer who's not afraid to tell you when you're wrong, call me." "You'd leave Voss? For the right opportunity?" "In a heartbeat. This place is getting stale anyway." She left before he could respond, but Noah tucked that away. Jennifer on his team. That was something to think about. By 5, the office had emptied. Noah took one last look at his space, the window with the view, the monitors, the evidence that he'd been here at all, and walked out. Elena was waiting by the elevator. "Thought you'd left already," Noah said. "Without saying goodbye? I'm not that cold." They rode down together in silence. In the lobby, Elena handed him an envelope. "What's this?" "Severance, plus the equity you earned, and a letter of recommendation if you need it." Noah looked at the envelope, then at her. "You didn't have to do this." "I know, but you earned it, and I'm not letting you walk out of here with nothing." "Elena, take it, Noah. Build something amazing, then come back and show me what I lost." She kissed him, brief, careful, aware of the cameras and the employees still trickling through the lobby. Then she walked back to the elevator without looking back. Noah stood there for a moment, envelope in hand, watching her go. Then he left. The first month on his own was terrifying. Noah rented a small office space in East Austin, nothing fancy, just 4 walls and decent internet, and started building. He didn't have a clear plan at first, just ideas. Fragments of things he'd seen at Voss that could be better, faster, more accessible. He started with the failover protocols. The Phoenix design had worked, but it was expensive. Too expensive for smaller cities, for places that needed the technology but couldn't afford Voss's price tag. Noah spent weeks stripping it down, rebuilding it from scratch, making it modular and scalable. By the end of month 2, he had a prototype. By the end of month 3, he had a working system. And by the end of month 4, he had his first client, a mid-sized city in New Mexico that had been burned by a previous contractor and was desperate for something that actually worked. The contract wasn't huge, $50,000 for a pilot program. But it was real. Proof of concept. Proof that he could do this without Elena's name or Voss's resources. He called the company Apex Systems. Simple, direct, no pretense. Mia helped him design the logo, a triangle with clean lines pointing up. She'd drawn it on notebook paper, and Noah had it printed on everything. Business cards, letterhead, the sign outside his office. "It looks professional," Mia said, studying the sign. "You think?" "Yeah, very official." Noah ruffled her hair. "That's because you're a design genius." "I know." She grinned, and Noah felt something settle in his chest. This, building something with his own hands, his own vision, with Mia beside him, this was worth the risk. Elena visited on weekends, never during the week. They'd agreed to keep boundaries, to let Noah build Apex without the shadow of their relationship complicating things. But Saturdays were theirs. Sometimes she'd bring takeout and help him debug code. Sometimes they'd just sit in his office, talking about everything except work. "How's Voss?" Noah asked one Saturday, watching her sort through deployment schedules. "Busy, chaotic. The board's still mad I let you go." "You didn't let me go. I left." "They don't see it that way. To them, I failed to retain top talent." "And what do you see?" Elena looked up. "I see someone who had the guts to bet on himself. That's not failure. That's evolution." Noah moved beside her, pulling her close. "I miss working with you." "I miss it too, but this is better." "How?" "Because now when I see you, it's not about work. It's just us." She kissed him, and Noah let himself forget about contracts and deadlines and the constant pressure of proving himself. For a few hours, it was just them. No titles, no expectations. Just two people trying to figure out how to build a life together when everything kept pulling them apart. 6 months in, Apex landed its biggest contract yet. A city in Colorado, population 200,000, wanted a full smart grid integration, energy management, adaptive housing, predictive maintenance. Everything Noah had built at Voss, but refined, improved, and priced at half the cost. The contract was worth $3 million. Noah stared at the signed agreement for a solid 10 minutes, trying to process it. Then he called Jennifer. "I need you," he said when she picked up. "For what?" "Senior VP of Engineering, Apex Systems, salaries 150 plus equity." Silence. "Jennifer? You're serious." "Dead serious. I just landed a $3 million contract and I can't do it alone. I need someone who knows this work inside and out. Someone who's not afraid to tell me when I'm wrong." "That's you." More silence. Then, "When do I start?" 2 weeks? "Make it 1. I'll put in my notice tomorrow." Noah laughed. Actual, genuine relief. "Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If this goes sideways, I'm blaming you entirely." "Deal." He hung up and immediately called Elena. "I hired Jennifer," he said. "I know. She called me 20 minutes ago asking for a reference." "And?" "And I told her she'd be insane not to take it. You're building something real, Noah. She sees it. I see it. I couldn't have done this without you." "Yes, you could, but I'm glad I got to watch." That night, Noah told Mia about the Colorado contract over pizza. $3 million, she said, eyes wide. "Yeah." "Are we rich now?" Noah laughed. "Not yet. Most of that goes to equipment and payroll, but we're stable. More than stable." Mia considered this. "Does that mean I can get a new bike?" "Yeah, kid. You can get a new bike." She grinned and went back to her pizza, already planning what color she wanted. Noah watched her, feeling something he hadn't felt in years. Security. Not the fragile kind that disappeared the second something broke. Real security. The kind that came from building something solid, something that couldn't be taken away by a bad boss or a missed paycheck or a company that didn't value him. He'd done this, on his own terms, and it felt better than anything he'd achieved at Voss. By the end of the first year, Apex had 5 employees and contracts in 4 states. By the end of year 2, they had 20 employees and were bidding on projects in 12 states. Noah moved into a real office, a renovated warehouse in South Austin with exposed brick and enough space for a full engineering team. Jennifer ran day-to-day operations while Noah focused on strategy and new business. They hired 2 more engineers, a project manager, and an accountant who kept telling Noah he needed to think bigger. "You're leaving money on the table, Marcus." Not that Marcus, a different one, their CFO, said during a quarterly review. "These cities are paying you half what Voss would charge. You could double your rates and still undercut them." "I don't want to undercut them," Noah said. "I want to be better and cheaper. That's the whole point. The point is to make money. The point is to build systems that work for people who need them. Money's secondary." Marcus sighed. "You're a terrible capitalist." "I'll take that as a compliment." But Marcus had a point. Apex was profitable, barely, but they were stretched thin. Every new contract meant hiring more people, buying more equipment, taking on more risk. Noah was good at building systems. He was less good at building a company. He needed help. He called Elena. "I need advice," he said. "Professional or personal?" "Professional. How do I scale without losing what makes this work?" "You hire someone who knows how to scale, a COO, someone who can handle operations while you focus on vision." "Who?" "I might know someone, but you're not going to like it." "Why?" "Because it's Richard Carver." Noah blinked. "You're Richard? Voss's VP of Operations, Richard?" "Former VP. He retired last month, but he's bored and looking for a project. And he's the best operations person I've ever worked with. He'd never work for me." "Ask him. Worst he can say is no." Noah called Richard that night. Richard listened to the pitch, Apex's vision, the contracts, the growth potential, and then said, "When do I start?" "You're serious?" "Noah, I spent 30 years at Voss watching bureaucracy strangle good ideas. You're building something that actually matters. Yeah, I'm serious." "I can't pay you what Voss did." "I don't need what Voss paid me. I need something worth doing. This qualifies." Richard started 2 weeks later. Within a month, he'd reorganized their entire operational structure. Within 2 months, Apex was running smoother than it ever had. And within 3 months, they'd landed their biggest contract yet, a $10 million deal with a consortium of cities in Texas looking to overhaul their entire energy infrastructure. $10 million. Noah sat in his office, staring at the contract, trying to wrap his head around it. Jennifer walked in. "You okay?" "I don't know. Am I?" "You just landed a contract that'll put Apex on the map." "Yeah. I'd say you're okay. This is real." "Yeah, it is." Noah looked at her. "I couldn't have done this without you, without Richard, without—" "Don't get sappy on me, Hayes. We've got work to do." But she was smiling. The $10 million project took 18 months. It was brutal. Long hours, impossible deadlines, problems that seemed to multiply faster than they could solve them. But Noah's team held together. Jennifer kept the engineering tight, Richard kept operations running, and Noah did what he'd always done, saw problems nobody else did, and found solutions that actually worked. When they finally launched, the system performed flawlessly, not perfect. Nothing was perfect, but it worked. Residents had reliable power, lower costs, and a system that adapted to their needs instead of forcing them to adapt to it. The cities loved it. The press loved it. And suddenly, Apex wasn't just a scrappy startup anymore. They were a real company. Offers started coming in. Cities across the country wanted to work with them. Investors wanted meetings. Competitors wanted to buy them out. Noah turned them all down. "Why?" Marcus asked after Noah rejected the third buyout offer. "They're offering $40 million. You could retire. We all could." "Because $40 million means someone else controls what we build, and I didn't leave Voss to hand control to someone else." "So what's the end game?" Noah thought about it. "We keep building. We prove that you can run a company that prioritizes people over profit and still succeed. And maybe, if we're lucky, we change how this industry works." Marcus shook his head. "You're definitely a terrible capitalist." "Good." 3 years after leaving Voss, Noah got a call from Douglas Sterling, The same board chairman who'd tried to push him out. The same man who'd questioned his competence and his relationship with Elena. "Mr. Hayes," Douglas said, "I'd like to discuss a potential partnership." Noah leaned back in his chair. "I'm listening." Voss Dynamics is looking to expand our accessible housing initiative. We need a partner who understands the market and has proven execution capability. Your work in Texas caught our attention. And we'd like to propose a joint venture. Voss handles financing and distribution. Apex handles design and implementation. 50-50 split on profits. Noah was quiet for a moment. Why now? Because we tried to do this on our own and failed. Twice. Your approach works. Ours doesn't. Pride only gets you so far. What does Elena think about this? She recused herself from the discussion, said it needed to be your decision, not hers. Of course she did. "I'll need to discuss it with my team," Noah said, "but I'm interested." "Good. I'll send the proposal over." Douglas hung up. Noah sat there, trying to process. Voss wanted to partner with him. The company that had tried to destroy him now wanted to work with him. It should have felt like vindication. Instead, it just felt like progress. He called Elena that night. "Douglas called," he said. "I heard." "You really recused yourself?" "Of course. This is your company, Noah. Your decision. I'm not going to influence it just because... Because we're together?" Elena paused. "Are we? Together?" The question hit harder than it should have. They'd been seeing each other for 3 years. Weekends, stolen moments, careful boundaries that kept their professional lives separate, but they'd never actually defined it. "I want to be," Noah said, "but I don't know how to do that when we're always keeping pieces of ourselves separate. So what do? We stop separating. We figure out how to build a life that includes both of us, fully, not just weekends and careful distance." Elena's voice softened. "I'd like that." "Yeah? Yeah, but Noah, I need to tell you something first." His chest tightened. "What?" "I'm leaving Voss." Noah sat up. "What?" "I gave my notice yesterday. The board's been pushing me out for years, and I'm tired of fighting them. I want to build something new, something that actually matters." "Elena, and I was hoping you might have room for one more partner." Noah's breath caught. "You want to join Apex?" "If you'll have me. Not as CEO, not as your boss, just as a partner. Someone who believes in what you're building and wants to help make it bigger." Noah felt something crack open in his chest. "Elena, You don't have to answer now. Think about it. Talk to your team. But Noah, I'm all in. On this. On us. On whatever we build next." Noah closed his eyes. "When can you start?" Elena laughed, surprised, relieved. "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. We'll figure out the structure. But yeah, I want you here. Not because I need you, though I do, but because I can't imagine building this without you." "I love you," Elena said. "I love you too." They talked for another hour, planning, dreaming, imagining what Apex could become with both of them driving it. When they finally hung up, Noah sat in his office, staring at the city lights outside, feeling like he'd finally found the thing he'd been searching for since that storm-heavy night when Elena had walked into his apartment. Not success, not money, not even security. Purpose, partnership. A future built on their terms, not someone else's. 6 months later, Apex announced a joint venture with Voss Dynamics. The press conference was packed. Reporters, investors, city officials, all of them wanting to know how a 3-year-old startup had managed to partner with one of the biggest tech companies in the country. Noah stood at the podium with Elena beside him, not behind him, not in front of him, but beside him, and told them the truth. 3 years ago, I was working in a warehouse, trying to make rent and raise my daughter. I didn't have connections or credentials or any reason to believe I could build something like this. But I had an idea, and I had someone who believed in that idea enough to give me a shot." He glanced at Elena. She smiled. "Apex exists because we believe infrastructure should work for everyone, not just the people who can afford it, not just the cities with the biggest budgets, everyone. And this partnership with Voss lets us do that on a scale we couldn't achieve alone." He laid out the plan. 20 cities over 5 years, integrated housing networks that prioritized accessibility and affordability. systems designed to adapt as communities grew and changed. The reporters asked questions. Noah answered them. Elena filled in the gaps, and by the end, even the skeptics seemed convinced. After the conference, Douglas Sterling pulled Noah aside. "I owe you an apology," he said. Noah raised an eyebrow. "For?" "For underestimating you, for trying to push you out. You've built something remarkable here, Mr. Hayes. I should have seen it sooner. You saw what you needed to see at the time. I don't hold grudges." Douglas extended his hand. "To a successful partnership." Noah shook it. "To building something that lasts." Potet. That night, Noah took Elena and Mia to dinner at the same restaurant where Elena had first offered him the job. Anthem, 32nd floor. View of the city that still took his breath away. Mia was 10 now, tall and sharp and already talking about engineering school. She ordered pasta and spent half the meal explaining her latest science project, something about renewable energy storage that Noah only half understood but was proud of anyway. Elena listened with the kind of attention she gave everything, focused, engaged, asking questions that made Mia light up. After dinner, Mia excused herself to the bathroom. Elena reached across the table and took Noah's hand. "I have something for you," she said. She pulled out a small box and set it in front of him. Noah's heart kicked. "Elena, open it." He did. Inside was a key. "To what?" he asked. "Our house." "Well, it will be our house once we close next month. I found a place in Westlake, 4 bedrooms, big yard, room for Mia, and an office for you, and—" She paused. "And room for us, if you want it." Noah stared at the key, throat tight. "You bought a house. I bought a home. For all of us, if that's what you want." "Elena, He couldn't find words, so he just pulled her close and kissed her, not caring about the restaurant or the other diners or anything except this moment. When they broke apart, Elena was crying. "Is that a yes?" she asked. "Yeah, that's a yes." Mia came back and saw them holding each other, key still in Noah's hand. "Are we moving?" she asked. "Yeah, kid, we're moving." Mia grinned. "Cool, can I get a dog?" Elena laughed. "We'll talk about it." "That's adult speak for yes." It absolutely is not. But she was smiling. The house closed 6 weeks later. It was beautiful, modern, but warm, with windows that let in light and a kitchen big enough for all of them to cook in without bumping into each other. Mia claimed the biggest bedroom. Elena set up an office overlooking the garden. And Noah just stood in the living room watching them move through the space and felt something he'd never quite managed to hold before. Peace. Not the absence of problems. He still had deadlines, contracts, a company to run, but the chaos felt manageable now, like he'd finally learned how to carry the weight without letting it crush him. They spent the first night on the floor because the furniture hadn't arrived yet, pizza boxes and sleeping bags and laughter that echoed off the empty walls. Mia fell asleep first, curled up between them. Noah looked at Elena over Mia's head. "We did it," he said quietly. "Did what?" "Built something that matters." Elena smiled. "Yeah, we did." They lay there in the dark, listening to Mia breathe, and Noah thought about the night this had all started. The storm, the stranger on his couch, the decision to open the door instead of keeping it closed. Everything had changed because of that night, and everything was better because he'd been brave enough, or desperate enough, or stupid enough to take the risk. 5 years later, Apex had offices in 8 states and partnerships with 40 cities. Noah had built the company he'd dreamed of, one that prioritized people over profits, innovation over shareholders, systems that worked for everyone instead of just the wealthy. They weren't perfect. They made mistakes. But they learned from them, adapted, kept building. Jennifer ran engineering with the kind of precision that made competitors jealous. Richard handled operations like a maestro. And Elena did what she'd always done best, saw the big picture, pushed them to think bigger, and kept Noah grounded when his ambitions started outpacing reality. Mia was 15 now, already talking about MIT and arguing with Noah about whether she should major in engineering or physics. She'd grown into someone fierce and brilliant and kind, and Noah couldn't take credit for all of it, but he'd done his part. One Saturday morning, he found Elena in the garden, coffee in hand, staring at something on her tablet. "What's that?" he asked. "Article in Tech Review about Apex. They're calling us the future of urban infrastructure." Noah sat beside her. "You believe that?" "I believe we're trying. That's more than most companies can say." "We couldn't have done it without you." Elena looked at him. "We did it together. That's the whole point." She was right. This wasn't Noah's company or Elena's company. It was theirs, built from shared vision and mutual respect, and the kind of partnership that didn't require one person to be smaller so the other could be bigger. Equal, balanced, real. "I was thinking," Noah said, "maybe it's time we made this official." "Made what official?" He pulled out a small box. Elena's breath caught. "Noah, I know we've been doing this for years, building a life, raising Mia, running a company together, but I want it to be official. I want everyone to know that you're mine and I'm yours, and we're done pretending this is anything other than permanent." He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple, elegant, with a stone that caught the morning light. Elena's hands covered her mouth. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious about anything." "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, absolutely yes." Noah slid the ring onto her finger, and Elena kissed him like they were 20 again and just figuring out what this was. When they finally broke apart, both of them were crying. "I love you," Elena said. "I love you too." Mia appeared in the doorway, saw the ring, and rolled her eyes. "Finally! I've been waiting for you two to figure this out for like 3 years." "You knew?" Noah asked. "Dad." "Everyone knew. You guys are not subtle." Elena laughed, and Noah pulled both of them close. His daughter, his partner, his future, and felt the last piece click into place. This was it. The life he'd built from nothing, the family he'd chosen, the future he'd fought for when everyone told him it was impossible. And it hadn't been easy. Nothing worth having ever was. But it had been worth it. Every risk, every failure, every moment he doubted himself and kept going anyway. Worth it. What? They got married 6 months later in the garden of their home. Small ceremony. Just family and close friends. Jennifer stood as Elena's maid of honor. Richard officiated because he'd somehow gotten ordained online and nobody questioned it. Mia gave a speech that made everyone cry and laugh in equal measure. And when Noah and Elena exchanged vows standing under the oak tree they'd planted together 3 years ago, Noah said the only thing that mattered. "I used to think success meant never needing anyone, being strong enough, smart enough, independent enough to do it all alone. But you taught me something better. You taught me that real strength is knowing when to ask for help, when to let someone in, when to build something together instead of trying to carry it all yourself." He took her hands. "You walked into my life on the worst night I'd had in years, and you saw something in me I didn't see in myself. You gave me a chance when nobody else would. And I spent every day since trying to prove I deserved it. But the truth is, I didn't need to prove anything, because you didn't give me a chance because of what I could do. You gave me a chance because of who I was. And that changed everything." Elena was crying now, not bothering to hide it. "I love you," Noah said, "not because you're brilliant or powerful or successful, but because you're kind, because you care, because you looked at a guy in a warehouse and saw someone worth betting on, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure that bet pays off." Elena kissed him before he could say anything else, and the crowd erupted in applause. The reception lasted until midnight. Mia danced with Richard. Jennifer gave a toast that was equal parts sarcastic and sincere, and Noah and Elena stood in the middle of it all, watching the life they'd built celebrate around them. "We did it," Elena whispered. "Yeah, we did." "What now?" Noah pulled her close. "Now we keep building. Together." "I can live with that." They danced until their feet hurt, and the stars came out, and Mia fell asleep on the couch. And when the last guest finally left, Noah and Elena stood in their garden, looking at the house they'd filled with life and laughter and love. "You know what I realized?" Noah said. "What?" "That night you showed up at my apartment, I thought I was doing you a favor, letting you crash because Marcus asked. But you were doing me the favor. You were giving me a door to walk through, a chance to become something more than I'd let myself imagine. You would have found your way eventually. Maybe. But I'm glad I found it with you. Elena rested her head on his shoulder. Me too. They stood there in the quiet, watching the lights of the city, where they'd both struggled and succeeded, failed and risen, lost and found each other. And Noah thought about the question Elena had asked him that first morning. If someone offered you a way out of this, would you take it? He'd said yes, taken the risk, walked through the door, and it had cost him everything he thought he wanted. But it had given him everything he actually needed. A family, a purpose, a partnership built on trust and respect and the kind of love that didn't ask you to be perfect, just real. That was the lesson, Noah realized, the thing he'd learned across 5 years of building and failing and building again. Success wasn't about never needing anyone. It wasn't about being invincible or untouchable or strong enough to do it all alone. Success was about finding people who saw you, really saw you, and choosing to build something together. It was about being brave enough to ask for help, humble enough to admit when you were wrong, strong enough to keep going when everything told you to quit. And most of all, it was about recognizing the moments that changed your life and having the courage to walk through them instead of closing the door. Elena had been his door, his moment, his chance, and he'd walked through it. And on the other side, he'd found himself. Not the person he thought he had to be, but the person he'd always been, just waiting for someone to see it. That was worth more than any title or salary or company he could build. It was worth everything. 10 years after that storm-heavy night in Austin, Noah stood in front of a crowd at a tech conference in San Francisco. Apex had grown into one of the most respected infrastructure companies in the country. They'd built systems in 100 cities, employed 500 people, changed the way the industry thought about accessibility and sustainability. But Noah wasn't there to talk about success metrics or revenue growth. He was there to talk about the thing that mattered most. I spent the first 30 years of my life thinking I had to do everything alone, he said, looking out at the sea of faces. I thought asking for help was weakness, that needing people meant I'd failed, and that belief almost destroyed me. It kept me small, kept me scared, kept me stuck in a version of myself that was surviving but not living. He paused. Then someone showed me a different way. Someone walked into my life and said, "What if you stopped trying to do this alone? What if you let someone see you, help you, build with you?" And I want to tell you, that's the hardest thing I've ever done. Letting someone in, admitting I couldn't do it all, trusting that I was worth investing in even when I didn't have credentials or connections or any reason to believe I'd succeed. He looked at Elena in the front row. She smiled. But I did it, and it changed everything. Not because someone saved me, but because I finally let myself be part of something bigger than my own fear. And that's what I want you to take from this. Whatever you're building, a company, a career, a life, you don't have to do it alone. You're allowed to need people. You're allowed to ask for help. You're allowed to build something together instead of trying to carry it all yourself. He smiled, because the strongest thing you can do isn't proving you don't need anyone. It's finding the people who see your worth and choosing to build something with them. That's what creates real success, not the kind measured in dollars or titles, but the kind measured in lives changed, problems solved, and futures built on foundations strong enough to last. The crowd erupted in applause. Noah stepped off the stage and found Elena waiting in the wings. She pulled him close. "That was perfect," she said. "Just telling the truth." "I know. That's what made it perfect." They walked out together hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. Because that's what they did. Together. Always together. And that, more than anything else, was the real victory. Not the company, not the success, not even the life they'd built, but the fact that they'd built it side by side with nothing but trust and love and the courage to keep trying even when it was hard. That was everything. That was enough. That was home.